The years have done their best to bury this truth, but there was a time when the most capable craft in the cosmos was the R-Wing. But although they once weaved between asteroids and cut through the solar winds like blades through butter, the steel-plated wings of the speedy R-Wing have since rusted solid. And yet, as off-course as the once heroic ship's flight plan has gotten, recent failures can't dull the shining triumphs of old. Forget the disappointments and subsequent tears that led to the rusting of the R-Wing. In the fading light of the 20th century, no team of pilots navigated the nebulas as nimbly as Star Fox. Released to the Super Nintendo Entertainment System in 1993, Star Fox was really a significant moment, not only for Nintendo, but for video games in general. 3D graphics were still in their infancy. They wouldn't become a standard until the next generation of consoles. But when the British developer Argonaut Software approached Nintendo with a prototype for a 3D flight game, Nintendo commissioned the design of a custom chip that would allow the Super NES to render polygons. The result was a coprocessor chip called the Super FX, and in 1993, this thing blew our minds. To have this caliber of 3D graphics on a home console was just unprecedented, and our introduction to this exciting new technology was Star Fox. The glorious fruit of Argonaut and Nintendo's shared efforts, Star Fox was a game you had to see for yourself to believe. It was a game that made riding a bike to your friend's house just to watch him play seem totally worth it. Star Fox was unlike anything we'd ever seen on a home console, and for that reason alone, it's a landmark release. Star Fox is an on-rails shooter in the vein of games like Panzer Dragoon and even Sin and Punishment. You control the R-Wing through lots of diverse locations across space, all the while firing your lasers at anything that gets in your way. But what makes Star Fox stand out among similar games is its arcade sensibilities. This game is short, fast, and based on memorizing levels for multiple playthroughs and high scores. Of course, the reason you'll gladly go back to Star Fox again and again is the game's controls. They're immediately accessible, and after just a few minutes, you're launching bombs and doing all those classic barrel rolls with all the deftness of an anthropomorphic forest creature. As intense as the fast-paced gameplay can be, it's actually amplified by the game's fantastic atmosphere. Unlike later games in the series, there's a legitimately epic feel to Star Fox. A sweeping musical score builds tension throughout each level, and often, the levels actually use pauses in their oncoming enemy waves in order to accentuate the music. Combined with a more sophisticated style than the series would later adopt, the original Star Fox is a surprisingly engrossing experience that's about a lot more than just polygons. Now, as groundbreaking as Star Fox was, it does lose altitude in a few areas. Most notably, even with the game's design goals in mind, it's still a bit short. You can finish a round of Star Fox in less than an hour, and although there are 3 different routes you can choose from and lots of secrets to find, an extra level or 2 per route would have been a nice touch. But otherwise, there just isn't much to complain about. Star Fox was a technical showpiece for its time, and although the wow factor of its graphics has worn off today, its simple, fast-paced, and addictive gameplay hasn't. One of the best space shooters of the Super NES era, its fancy internal chip isn't the only thing that's super about Star Fox.